49ers newly signed quarterback Josh Dobbs, aka the Pastronaut, revealed why he ended up signing with the San Francisco 49ers. During an interview that just came out, Josh Dobbs spoke about Brock Purdy and what some view as words of praise, I view as backhanded compliments. Am I right or am I wrong? Let's get into it, y'all. Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Ryan Tyke back in action. I had to jump on here. News coming hot off the press about Josh Dobbs and the reason he ultimately signed with the San Francisco 49ers. On a recent Adam Schefter podcast, Josh Dobbs spoke about why he chose the 49ers. And during that discussion, he brought up QB1 Brock Purdy. Now, much of what Josh said about Brock Purdy, much of which I found to be essentially half-assed praise or a nice way of saying game manager. Let's take a listen so you can see for yourselves about what Josh Dobbs had to say about signing with the 49ers and QB1 of the 49ers, Brock Purdy. Let's take a listen.
And it's a coach quarterback league. So I want to ask you a few quarterback questions. Brock Purdy, you're going to be teammates with him this year. What do you see when you watch Brock Purdy play?
Man, he plays like efficient football. Like, we played him in Arizona, and that's why I respect it so much. I think, you know, we stopped him once. I think it was like 31 or 34, 300 yards and a couple touchdowns. Now, he does have a great cast, but at the end of the day, like, he has to be the decision maker and the driving force of the offense. And the way he makes good decisions, takes care of the football, and plays just efficient, clean football. Like, he might not go out there and make the wow play all the time, but he's going to go out there and put his team in a great position to be successful. And that's what you have to do, especially in the Shanahan offense. And then obviously, especially when you have some really good weapons around you. And so that's why I've respected seeing how he's been able to quickly do that from the first year, getting thrown into the fire, because I know what that feels like. And then be able to go to the NFC Championship game, have one injury away from going to the Super Bowl, and then go to the Super Bowl the next year in the midst of obviously all the people trying to say, you know, he's a game manager, yada, yada, yada. At the end of the day, he wins football games and he plays efficient football. That's all you can ask for. So that's why I'm most excited about just being able to obviously, you know, provide my perspective on what I've learned throughout the league and be able to assume whatever role that looks like this upcoming year, but to be around that and that coaching and that type of player and that type of room and that consistency, I think it'd be really good for me, and I'm excited to see what I'll be able to add and help the team with for this upcoming year.
Okay, here's what I took away from that Josh Dobbs interview on the Adam Schefter podcast. There was some key phrases and buzzwords that is essentially, in a form, a backhanded compliment. The first one, he might not go out there and make wow plays. He plays efficient. That's all you can ask for, especially when you have really good weapons around you. He wins games. When you peel back the onion layer on that, that is essentially all code words for game manager. And as you heard in the interview, he even brought up the fact of people trying to say Brock Purdy is a game manager. But yet, aren't those words and phrases saying that exact thing? Brock Purdy's a game manager? Is that just a nice way of phrasing that? That's what I took away from it. And this is the problem. Once again, another player in the NFL, Dobbs himself, is bringing up the narrative, trying to minimize how great of a quarterback Brock Purdy just is. It seems to me that people forget what has happened in his short-lived career. Did people forget he was number one in Pro Bowl votes this past year? Did people forget he was an MVP candidate in the NFL this past year? Did people forget Brock Purdy was so good at running this offense that 4 skilled players all had over 1,000 yards from scrimmage last year? Did people forget Purdy put the team on his back in the NFC Championship game against the Detroit Lions when he was scampering around all over the field for first downs ending with 48 rush yards and doing so while leading his team back from one of the largest halftime deficits ever in an NFC championship game when they were down 17 points. And ultimately, being a game of that magnitude, win or go home, win, you go to the Super Bowl, lose, season's done. He was the one single-handedly that propelled the 49ers to advance to the Super Bowl. And if you've watched any of my other videos, you know how I feel about the lack of appreciation and respect that Brock Purdy gets from players in the NFL and, of course, the national media pundits, specifically from those who haven't even sniffed the level of games Brock Purdy has been now consistently playing in just within the last 2 years, the only 2 years he's been in the NFL. As a reminder, here's a video of some of the discussion around Brock Purdy from earlier this year.
Is Brock holding the Niners back? I got to ask you this very important question.
The thing about it, I think his playmakers are just making better plays. If you see Debo's runs, those are quick passes. I can throw a screen pass to Debo. And that's just what they do.
I look at Brock Purdy. You want me to tell you what I asked myself? That happens in Kansas City. You think he's coming back? He ain't coming back.
Can he play from behind? Can he have that MVP moment where he shows us that it's not a scheme and he is that guy?
I do think that he's holding them back. Brock Purdy is the weak link on the team.
I thought he was this great processor. What happened to all that?
What? I just acknowledge that there was deficiencies.
I think that if the Niners have to play anything other than the exact script Kyle Shanahan wrote out, the quarterback will melt.
The best part about all of this is that this will actually be Brock Purdy's first real offseason. Last season, he was rehabbing his elbow from surgery, so he didn't get any time to work on much mechanics, if at all, while rehabbing that injury. Another is the appreciation Kyle Shanahan has for his quarterback.
Purdy stands alone, plays in a Super Bowl in just his second season. Shouldn't he be more celebrated? I mean, as just kind of the standard quarterback when you see all these other guys drafted ahead of him, all of a sudden now kind of lost in the shuffle?
I mean, it shows how hard it is to play quarterback in this league. I mean, there's 32 teams, and there's definitely not 32 guys. And even when you do have those the pressure, like, for a guy to do it over and over, week in and week out, and it's such a team game. It's dependent on so many different aspects, but the pressure is always on that guy, and each week. And even when Brock, who's been unbelievable in these 2 years, getting us to the NFC Championship, getting us to the Super Bowl, and when you do that, just the standard changes. So right when people see you're in that club, then they're going to try to see where in that club you are, and it really never stops. You know, there's the pressure that is on those guys. That's why it's one of the most high-paid positions in the league, or definitely the most high-paid position, because they got to earn it, and they do earn it. But Brock's done that these last 2 years. He's been unbelievable. He's done it week in and week out. He's come back from a really tough injury in his first year, had a hell of a year this year. Really hasn't had an offseason yet with us. The first offseason, he was battling to be our third-string quarterback and make the team. Last year in the offseason, he didn't get a throw until training camp, so I'm just pumped. He got married here a couple weeks ago,
right.
So he's going to come back a full man and be healthy and ready to attack this offseason, and I'm pumped to coach him.
Which, when it comes down to it, it's all that really matters. It's Shanahan's offense. He's calling the plays. He's the head coach, and ultimately, he is the decision maker. And I'm sure Brock Purdy takes pride in that. I have an early prediction. Brock Purdy, going into his third year, we are going to see the biggest leap and improvement we will see again in his short-lived tenure in the NFL as a starting quarterback, especially since he has a full offseason. He now knows this Kyle Shanahan offense, which should ultimately lead to him having a little bit more freedom within it, being able to check out of plays, check into plays as he sees things as he approaches the line of scrimmage. So I think this year, the third year of his career, we are going to see the best Brock Purdy we have ever seen. Now, I will admit the Josh Dobbs signing was a good move. God forbid if anything were to happen to Brock, Josh Dobbs has proven he could be able to step in and win the Niners some ball games during Brock's absence. So that's a good thing. And I like the move that Kyle and John Lynch made to get the Pastronaut onto the 49ers. And now this all absolutely could just be me being jaded and being sensitive about Brock Purdy. And I want to know, am I right or am I wrong? How did you guys take it? Let me know in the comments. Just had to get that out there. And I'm really curious to see how you guys take it. So until then, I'll be back. Like, comment, subscribe. You know the deal. Hit me up. Peace.